take 4. I've had the mailman pull in, the dogs cry to go out, my dinger went off, went off for the sourdough that I'm making. So let's see how far I can get through this. I had a friend recently ask me about Mylar bags, and I realized the video I did was a long time ago, and I've since changed some things that I've used. So for food storage, I use Mylar bags, especially for wheat berries. I have rice, I've got chocolate chips, got oats, and I rotate them and use them. I also keep all my Mylar bags in food save buckets. Some with gamma lids, some with snap-on lids. Why? Because we've had mice, and mice will chew through a Mylar bag, but they can't get into the bucket. So I like to just really secure because it's our food and we paid money for it. This bag here looks like it's sealed. This one looks like it didn't, but this is sealed. I used a 300cc oxygen absorber in that bag. I only used a 100cc oxygen absorber in this bag. So some of the things that you need to do your Mylar bags is you need a Mylar bag, and optional are oxygen absorbers, which I use, and the purpose of that is all products that are natural made have insect eggs on them, and if you give them enough time, they will hatch. Everybody who's had a bag of flour sit in their cupboard will go in a year and then notice little weevils in it. The eggs were always there. It hatches. So the oxygen absorber sucks out the oxygen to keep them from hatching. And with food, I rotate through everything. It may not be an issue, but I'm not going to take the chance, so I use oxygen absorbers. I have impulse sealers. I have an 8-inch and a 12-inch. Do you need them? Nope. You can, if you've got a hair flattener, this works great. Then you would just press and seal the end. I've also done it with an iron, a household iron. You can see here, this one here was sealed with the impulse sealer. There's a line there. I just have it because at the time I could afford it and I had it. So I use bags. You see I've got a lot of Wallaby bag brands here. This here is a Wallaby 2-quart, which has always been my favorite. This here is a knockoff cheap brand from Amazon 2-quart, and I've gotten great success from those. For oxygen absorbers, I've also used Packed Fresh USA with great success. And I've gone through several bags of Wallaby oxygen absorbers. These are 500s. And they all work great. So the other day I did up a bunch of berries. I had einkorn and emmer and rye. And I wanted gallon bags. I also have food buckets. Let me see here. There's a food bucket and there's another food bucket. And I wanted to, instead of storing it in a 2-quart, I wanted to store it in a 1-gallon. That's why I have the 12-inch impulse sealer, and we'll go through that. One thing you have to remember, and this is something that I've done, is when I get my impulse sealer, I mark which end is the knob and which end is the rear, because I fight putting it back in. The other thing is I accidentally bumped this once down to 3, and I sealed everything. I lifted the bag and the wheat came flying out. So I like to keep this on 5, and I always check. After I seal it, I hold this down for 4 seconds afterwards, just the way I'd learned it. When I seal everything, I have a bucket system, and I write down the date of how many bags I have, and in the buckets I have markers on the top, so I might mark it Karazin, and then I'll take little tabs and I'll mark it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every time I take a bag out, I take number 5 out, and then next time I'll take number 4 out. So I know if I see just one label on the top of the bag, I need to reorder again. Before I demonstrate how I seal bags, I'm going to refill all my wheat berry jars. I do this once a week with all these bags that I took out. Start off with the kamut, and you'll see the bag has released its hold. One done, and so I'll put this one back on the shelf. This has got to be the biggest pain bucket I've ever opened. You're supposed to be able to rip these off really easy. Oh sure, now that I turn the camera on, it'll be easy. Nope. So I'm going to continue getting this. I'm almost there. Almost. Good Lord, that was tough. Now, I do have gamma lids to replace, but because I'm putting these inside a Mylar bag, we'll see if I have to. I heard these buckets are buggered to reclose again. Okay, berries look good. Oxygen absorbers in the top. No critters. I like that. This is Butler's Gold 4 Generations, and I bought this, and you can tell this, well, they're okay. I'm going to put in some fresh ones in the bag. They say when they get hard, they're no good. And these almost feel hard. They shouldn't be. But no critters got in here. So I will get my system going here in the dining room rather than the kitchen because I have my Instapot cooking. Normally doing 2 quarts, this is my favorite gadget to use. But because this is a bigger amount, I'm going to use a 4 cup and the gallon Mylar bag, which are 7.5 mil compared to the 5 mil bags. Now they do puncture easy. This is what it looked like. You can see the plastic seal inside there, but still, if I could see light, it's no good. So I used to reuse these bags, but I had so many problems of this that I quit. But now with these 7.5 mil, these are really heavy, so I plan on using them. Also, when I said the impulse sealer I've always had on 5, with the 12-inch, they recommend a higher number. So again, test, I'm going to start about 7 and see if it seals good with that. I got about 16 cups in this 1 gallon, and I have a feeling I'm going to be removing a cup or 2. The nice things about the gusses is it holds it up. And yes, of course, I sent wheat berries flying everywhere, and that will not be on camera. I cannot get over how delicious these grains smell. I didn't measure these ones, but I'm going to try and divide up some into these last bags here. And I did fill my jar, which I have to put a new tag on so I know what berries they are. Wait until I have all my bags filled before I cut these open. It tells you it's fresh. When it turns purple, it's not fresh anymore. So often what I do is I cut this open, I do all my bags, I seal them, and I look at my dot, and I've gotten it before it turns purple. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bags. So I'm going to cut these open. And I know I got 7. And I typically put these down into the berries as much as I can. In here, when I put the bag in, I try and stuff it down as far as I can so you can't see it in the berry. And I'm always looking at the color dot. It's starting to change. These thicker bags are harder to work with. Now you can see this here is a dark purple, and I was done before my oxygen absorbers were no longer any good. I checked the seal to make sure they sealed. This one did, and I'm very careful. Like these puckers here, those will cut and also maybe wreck its own self-seal. This one here's got a few puckers in it, and I don't need to do this. This is probably over cautionary, but I will anyhow. I'm going to give it a second seal. I actually like the 5mm bags, are easier to work with, but I've got these gallon bags, so I'm going to use them, and I've got them all laying out on the floor here. Now the next important thing is I'm going to write the brand, the date, and the amount on each bag. These ones here, I'm not quite sure the amount because I didn't measure. I put in leftovers, but I know it's 4 generations, and it's hard red wheat, and today's date. This one looks like it's sealed really good all the way across. Again, I'm going to put 4 Gen hard red wheat, 2/13/25. And the reason I do this is because I always grab the oldest bag because I rotate through all my food. So that is what I do to Mylar seal. So there is the hard red wheat from 4 generations I did. And then the leftovers I fit in a bucket here and there. I have all my buckets numbered. And then I put the tags on there. So I know in this one I got the Azure Karazin. And I've got 6 bags in there. So every time I take a bag, I will lift one of these, which will tell me then I have 5. And so I have 18 buckets, and my system works pretty good for me. I will also update my inventory list, and so I'll write on where I put what. Like now I know that this 4 generations Butler's Gold has been opened, so I'll write down how many bags I have in there. They give you this cool tool for lifting these up, which works great. And this one here is in a bag. I've ordered from them before, and I really like the Grand Teton, also known as Ancient Grain Wheat Berries. It's these things. I wish they would come up with something better, because this is the bugger to get off the seal, the bucket. So you can see here, this here's got a big oxygen absorber in there, and when I cut it, you'll hear it release. There we go. And I'll show you the big oxygen absorber they put in these ones. I like these bags. I like how they ship. I like their berries. I like the performance. Looks like a little piece of. These berries look good. And here's the oxygen absorber, and it's still good. I'm going to stuff that back down there. And I'm going to get to prepping these. As I was rolling out the bread, I decided I'm going to put up a few small bags with my other impulse sealer. But I wanted to show you, if you don't have an impulse sealer, all you have to do is put this down, and you can see right away it melted. Ooh, it melted very quickly. This is one I did on setting number 15, and this is one I did up higher, and you don't need it that high, you really don't. So this here would be on 15, and you can just practice holding it, and you'll see it seals very quickly. You can run it down, and you can see that sealed also. And these are sealed, you can't get into them. So that's how you can use your straightening iron or a regular iron, and it doesn't have to be that hot. If it gets too hot, it over melts it. And this one here is almost too hot. It's quite stiff. This one here is a little cooler. This one here is on 15. So you just play with it. And I've gotten them where they didn't seal, and I emptied the bags when I lifted the bag up, and all the wheat berry came out everywhere. And so it's kind of you have to figure out what works for you. On the small quart, on this sealer, number 5 works for me. And so that's what I'm going to do in my 2-quart bags. I'm going to seal about 5 of these, because I have, and I took out the smaller ones. These are 400. Oh, is that the smallest? I'm quite sure I've got some 300. I'm going to switch these out for 300. And put 2 in a bag, because I've read that once you open this, you can put it into a jar and then use like a dry vacuum seal. A lot of your Saver Seals have them. I have them from 4 jars. They work great. But I don't like to have loose ends, so I just typically use it up. And you can see this is bright pink again. So I'm going to get this going, and we'll touch back when I get the bags filled. Now I have 300. You can see right here I have 300, 400, 500, and I think I got 2,000. But this here works absolutely fine. So I'm going to put, because there's 10 in these, I'm going to put 2 per bag. I'm going to do it 5 bags and just stop there, just to give me a little head start. I go through a ½ gallon of hard white wheat a week, and probably at least a quart of hard red, and almost a quart of Karazin per week. And then I use soft white for the non-yeasted breads, like your cookies, your muffins, pancakes, pie crust, that sort of thing. And I go through that also. With the 5 mil, I do treat these a little gingerly, because I have punctured them easily. And I know in the 2 quart, I can fit 7 cups, but I typically like to get 6 cups in, just because it is easier then to lay it down when I seal it. And now I'm going to very carefully set that in there and not mess with it. And I'm going to seal it and lay it down carefully, because I don't want to puncture these. Push the oxygen absorber down in there. I had a few berries fall out. Put this down so I have this nice and pressed down there, and I'm going to put a towel across and then lay some of these berries in there. Now if I wanted to, and I have done this, I put a spare oxygen absorber in the bag or in the bucket, but I feel that's kind of overkill and I don't need to do that. Again, once I get to this part, I like to work real quickly. I see the pink. I'm going to open my bag, and I'm going to put 2 in per packet, because that's what I have. And I'm going to again stuff it down into the wheat berries. And then I just keep this for reference. And then very carefully, I put this in, and I try and keep it flat so I don't get any puckers. And after light goes off, I hold it for about 4 seconds. And that's got a nice seal. And I'll continue on. I have sealed these correctly, so even if they don't suck down, because it's not a Saver Seal bag, oxygen absorber, you can see this is still pink, but it is changing color. It's not as vibrant, and it will turn blue. So I know I've done everything right. My oxygen absorbers were placed in there quick enough. I sealed them. I was careful not to puncture holes. If I did, I'd just put a piece of tape over it, and I put it in a bucket. And I'm going to get these marked for the hard white wheat and get them in the bucket. I have these all sealed. I'm going to let them sit because I'm multitasking. I've got bread I've got to go roll out, and then I'll get these placed in the bucket. Some have gamma lids, some don't. And so it's double secured, and I go through everything. They say if you do this right, it's good for 25 years. I probably go through, this batch here I'll go through in about 6 months. This is what I work through during the week shelf of berries. I got my hard red, hard white, soft, einkorn, kamut, and spelt. The only reason I'm putting this in is because I don't want to puncture any of the sides with my 5 mil bags, which when I said I'm gingerly, I meant I'm cautious. So I'll set these ones in very carefully. If I were to leave them out, you would see some seal up, but I'm not going to wait. And I know these are going to be just fine. I've got 2 bags I will put elsewhere. And my wheat berries are done up for this segment of putting them in Mylar bags and storing them.